Welcome to the Stories in EDU podcast, the show where we talk with real educators and hear their powerful impact. Their stories will grab you, inspire you, and show you the reach of the work we do. And now, the Bretzman Group presents your hosts, Josh Gauthier and Mandy Taylor.
Welcome back to another episode of Stories in EDU, your place to hear great stories from educators out there teaching in schools all across America and the world. We're so happy you can join us once again, and we hope that you find a lot of inspiration out of the stories that we're going to hear on this episode. Mandy, you actually were the connection that made this happen, and you have me very excited about this person. So can you tell us a little bit about how this connection happened?
Yes, I first met Sandra at the What Great Educators Do Differently conference in Houston maybe 2 years ago. I think that this spring, about 2 years ago. And we connected at Twitter. We ended up meeting after the conference and kind of hung out. And I got to meet some of her teachers at a restaurant. And then we kind of just stayed connected on Twitter. And then we reconnected at the TCCA conference. And in October, Shayna Glass, that was on earlier in an earlier session of the podcast, was the conference that she has kind of put together in her district. And so we were able to talk there. And so when we started the podcast, I knew that Sandra was one of the people that I wanted to have on. I've just been really impressed with the work that they're doing at Dogan Elementary. And then also I've just been getting to follow the stories of her kids on Twitter. I know some of the teachers now just because I get to see inside their classrooms, and I'm just really rooting for her and her campus, and knowing that the work they're doing in Texas is such great work. Excellent. And so I'm excited to have her today.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, let's bring on Sandra. Sandra, welcome to Stories in EDU.
Hey, how are you guys? Thank you for the invitation. I feel so special.
Well, you are, because it sounds like you're doing great work. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what your current role is?
And please correctly pronounce your last name for
me. Exactly. So my name is Sandra Menxueiro, and I know that's a difficult name to pronounce. I always tell people, use an H instead of the X, because the X, I know once they see it, they're like, I've been in education for, I would say, over 17 years. I was a bilingual teacher for a long time. And then I joined professional development in my department. I felt that I always wanted to be a principal, an administrator, but I needed that training, to prepare my staff for the things that they might need in the classroom. So that was an amazing time. And then, I became a principal. And I'm the proud principal at Dogan Elementary. We are in the 5th Ward in Houston, Texas. And our school, I was brought to this campus. This is one of the most underserved schools in Houston ISD. I only have this year to turn it around. So it's, I have a big journey to make. But I'm really happy because, we're showing so much progress. When we came here, 60% of our 3rd, 4th, and 5th were not reading at all, not even on grade level, but not reading at all. So I had to pretty much stop everything, and every teacher turned into a reading teacher. We did corrective reading for all of them. And today I was talking to one of my teachers, and they're like, oh my God, that's why God brought you here, because they needed the gift of reading. And I always tell principals, reading is something that we give our students that nobody else can take away from them. So reading can change trajectories and allow even students that are living in poverty to travel and learn about the world. So I always tell principals, never forget about that. And I think, so at the beginning, imagine me telling all of my teachers, hey, yeah, you were a science teacher, but now you're a reading teacher and we're all doing corrective reading. So it was kind of crazy. And our teachers started um, seeing kids that for a long time have not been learning and reading, and now they see them. So they jump into, this bus, and they're really excited. So I all I can say is I'm excited that I was brought here and that we were able to give them the gift of reading.
That's so cool. I just can sense like this great positive attitude, and I'm sure that is infectious amongst the staff, or at least I hope it is, because it would be for me. But from a little bit as we were talking before, it sounds like you're working on the reading thing, but you're even fighting against the elements sometimes. So it sounded like you had a bit of a rocky beginning to the school year.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we have a lot of challenges, but I also felt when I came into this campus that my teachers and my community, and especially my students, were feeling so defeated because not only they're living in poverty, they don't, many of our students, unfortunately, I would say most of them, we're 100% free and reduced campus. If they don't have breakfast or lunch here, they don't eat anything at home. We even have a dinner program for after school, and families are also allowed to come on the afternoons to eat dinner with all of their, family members. So before it needs to turn around our campus, and that involves a lot of academics. But we, what I discover as a leader, that, especially, what happened with Harvey, we were hit really hard at the beginning of the year. We could not even be on our campus. Most of our parents and our community was underwater. We could not even reach them. So yes, a rough start to the year, but then I discovered that we needed to feel some emotional and basic needs to our students before we can even start with the academics. So and I say before, but it needs to happen at the same time, because I only have this year to turn around the school, and to do that, it's even my staff, they're always saying, Sandra, you're asking for a miracle, and I am, but I know it's possible. But even though, all I have to say is I'm so thankful for this country, because so many states got together, and because of Twitter, I got so many schools. I had a school that sent me 18-wheeler filled with boxes, and what they did is they did a box per child. So it was like uniforms, shoes, toys, toiletries, everything into one box. So I didn't have to like get them here and unpack. It was like the size on the outside of the box. And then I could just, I'm sorry, I'm in school. So I would just give a box to them, and then, they would take it home. So, but what we found is that one of the things that we found after Harvey is we gave them so many uniforms, and I kept seeing kids with dirty clothes. And I said, what's going on? What's happening? And most of it, our kids would tell you, well, I don't have a washer and I don't have a dryer. And what do you want me to do? So, we started seeing, the possibility of, getting a washer and a dryer, and getting parent volunteers to come and wash, things for our parents and for our families. Because we started doing it with our special ed. Special ed has, the washer and dryer, but I'm like, I need partners to get me a new one that I can put with the nurse, and we can wash all this, because those are the kinds of needs that we have. And from that, I've been very blessed in my district because, we call it the Achieve 180, which basically were the schools that we need to, just turn around and go in a different direction. We have received so much support from our district. And one of the things that we got is a position that's called Wraparound Services Specialist. And he is just, Dr. English is just focused on those things. So I can be working on the academics while he's looking for partners and church and hospitals, the city of Houston, and they bring uniforms, supplies, backpacks. Now we have psychological services here on campus. So our students can go and talk to this person every day for whatever reason, whatever issue they might have. We also have dental services, vision, so many things. But this wraparound person is like pulling all of these things because it's a job. It's a job. And
I'm sorry. One of the things that I was, I think, so struck by, I know when we were sitting at the table at in the presenters lounge at TCCA, was just the idea. I'm at a campus that does not have some of those same challenges. We've got challenges, but it's a different kind of challenge. Our kids, we are not a Title I campus, so our kids aren't having those same challenges just to, get dressed and clothed in bed and things like that. So the strain, I think, that puts on a classroom teacher, I know just emotionally, even as a classroom teacher with kids that are dressed and fed and ready to learn, the emotional toll on a teacher is hard. And so I can only imagine the toll that your teachers have, just feeling that responsibility, not just for the academic progress of their kids, but also just kind of internalizing the way, just their lives, their little lives, the struggles they go through. And I think one of the things that sticks out to me so much is how you have leveraged social media to tell a different story for your kids and your staff. It is so exciting. I follow now several of your teachers just because I know and some of the other people on your admin team and things like that. And you guys have done a great job of marketing, or if that's the right word, just celebrating the work that you're doing, the progress that kids are making, how happy and joyful their little lives are when they're at school, and it's exciting to see, as it puts a lot of things in perspective for me as someone who works at a campus that doesn't have those same challenges. The perspective it brings me is it does a lot for me, because it reminds me that what we think are the big things sometimes are really not. So, yeah.
So, something that I remember when I came here, I remember I got the job, and I would, how it is announced in principals meeting, and you stand up and they're like, she's a new principal at Dogan, and I would see other principals and they'll be like, oh, good luck, I'm praying for you. I really wanted to change that, because we hear so much of that here. Mm-hmm. And the street we're in is famous for, violence and drugs and prostitution. And I really wanted to change that. And I know ours, like I said, we have our challenges, but I said, you know what? We need to start sharing the good stuff, because for our students, this is their safe place. Mm-hmm. This is their place where they learn, when they're happy, where they're fed, where they're interacting with their friends. So why don't we share that? Why don't we share that? And you know, it's been, I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes, you know, you get dragged into the negative, but I have a group of resilient teachers. I mean, I look at them, and I just had conversation with them yesterday after my principal meeting. I said, you know what, I'm coming after the principal's meeting and I'm going to talk to you. And I said, I know the challenges, but I cannot do this by myself. So I need your help. I need your support. I need your courage, and I need your energy. And what I discovered, it was incredible. And sometimes as leaders, we don't see this, but sometimes as a principal, you're also like, you know, the mother, and you have to get to your staff and be like, listen, I know what you're going through. I have the same feelings, especially when you don't even know if this campus is going to be open for the next year. So, and then here I am asking these teachers to give me 300%, and they might have to look for a job at the end of the year. That's crazy to me. But you know what? These teachers have demonstrated that anything is possible. And because they have those relationships with the kids, and because they're committed and they bought in the mission, and I think we have really, really great chances to, to come out of IR. You know, right now the challenge is that we still don't know what that number is, but you know, we're shooting for the stars. And what I told my teacher, especially at the beginning, because imagine I'm the new principal and I'm moving people around. You don't even know me. And then I'm asking you to teach all of these kids how to read. Imagine that. So, but you know what? They roll up their sleeves and they say, let's get to work. And then of course we lost a lot of time, but we were at the beginning because of Harvey. But I will never forget, our date was November 17th. And that's the day we actually sat down and mapped all the lessons for corrective reading. And I said, by November 17th, I need these kids reading, because guess what? Now we have to cover all the content. And imagine telling a teacher that, right? Because, you know, as it is, you barely have time to cover all of the standards. Well, imagine I took until, you know, take those 2 weeks at the beginning of the year, and then the corrective reading until November 17th. But I think that day will always live in our hearts. And I feel that, even because I told my teachers, I know we might have differences and you'd be like mad at me because I'm putting all of this extra work, but you're giving them the gift of reading. And now that they see the benefits, and kids that have not been reading since forever or never learned how to read. We even had a meeting with one parent, and she said, you know, the other day I was driving and my child, which happens to be one of our special ed students, said, look, Mom, over there it says car, here it says fiesta, here it says, she was like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm reading. Now I read. But the mom is like, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to keep doing it. So that's what I really want to share, because we already have our fair share of bad news from the neighborhood. I want to change that perception. I want to be that light, you know, the community that I know our parents would appreciate. And I know at the beginning, you know, like I said, we cannot make everybody happy. And sometimes I have to make decisions that are not easy for teachers, for community, for the students, but I did what I had to do. But all I want to showcase, and I remember one of the first things that I created was Doga Nation.
Mm-hmm.
It's our hashtag, hashtag Doganation. And I said, please start sharing that. And from that, my teachers took off, and everything they put, Doganation, to the point that sometimes I think they use the hashtag more that, yes, that the, at Dogan Elementary, that our handle, our Twitter
Mm-hmm.
handle, they use that more. But even at central office, everybody has noticed that difference. Like, oh my God, you have really put Dogan in with positive things. And that's what I want to do. That's all I want to, because we can talk about all the negative, and believe me, I have a lot of things to share about that. But no, I don't want to do that. I want the future, and I want the students to go to middle school and high school and always remember Dogan Nation and say, because of Dogan Nation, I learned how to read. Because Dogan Nation did this, I'm able to do this right now. And that's really the legacy that and it started with something as simple as a hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
I am ready for the book.
I know, right?
I know somebody who would be willing to help you publish that. So I think
Right.
if you haven't thought about it, you should, because I could sit here and I wish we had all the time in the world to talk to you, because I am learning so much. I'm fascinated by your demeanor, and I want to know more about how this is all working, because I feel like I love my administrators, but I would go work for you tomorrow. Like, that's just
I think our friends was at our table, right, Mandy? And she's like, you need to write a book. I'm like,
I know.
Barely have time to use a restroom, and you want to write a book? I can't. I'm sorry.
At least submit a story for the Stories in EDU book. I'll send you that link after the.
There we
after
go.
We'll see. Yes. Okay.
Sandra, it has been awesome talking to you on the podcast, and I feel very inspired. In fact, I would be willing to say in the 16 or 17 episodes we've had out so far, this is probably the most inspirational one that I think we've heard. Like, we've had lots of good stories, but I mean, this is like, you're changing a lot of lives by what you're doing. And regardless of how it all turns out, like, you are successful. Like, I don't think it. Yeah. I mean, I hope and I feel that the work you've done will help your school make the progress that it needs to, but it sounds like you have moved heaven and earth to make it happen. And that's awesome. And an inspiration to everybody else that, yeah, like Mandy had said earlier, we don't focus always on the really important stuff, and you're doing that.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. We're trying our best, and I'm pretty confident because I have the right people on the bus, like I said, and at the end of the day, it's all about our students. And I think, I'm going to be honest, I also feel that I'm getting a lot of help from God. He put me here. So with that, it doesn't matter. We will have Harvey or a freeze or another hurricane. I don't care, because he's like, you're there, you're lives, and that's what's going to happen.
All right. Excellent. Well, we have one last thing to do before we let you go. And you probably, you either have a ton of work to do while you're still at school, or you probably just want to get home and like eat something. So let's get wrapped up here. We always have a little lightning round where we play a round of the personalized PD game of stories by the Bretzman Group. And that is a 52 card deck that has a bunch of really great prompts for professional development for your staff to talk about. You get it on Amazon. I think it's about $20. It's really, really nice, and it facilitates great discussions. Mandy can talk more about that
Sure.
at another time, because she's done that actually at conferences. But in lieu of the fact that I don't have any cards with me today, being in a new location, I remember one that I think is perfect for what we've talked about. And the name of the card is Celebrate the Best. How do you go about celebrating the good things that are happening at your school? And I know we've talked about it a little bit, but what we're going to do is I'm going to put a minute on the clock here, and then we're going to start with you, Sandra, and you just take a minute to tell us a little bit about a story that speaks to that prompt. So celebrating the best. I know you already touched on it, but
I think we use Twitter a lot to celebrate our teachers. We also have amazing coaches. Yolanda Vivens is one of our literacy ones, and she creates a lot of awards during our PDs and shout outs for them. And she's just like really nice about that. But we share a lot of, we create videos, we go make observations, walkthroughs, we create a little video on Animoto, and we share on Twitter. And that way it's a win-win, not only for our teachers, but, for the community to see what's going on in the classrooms. And we try as much as we can to celebrate the big gains and all the progress that our students are doing as well, even during tutorials. So I think, Twitter is one of our biggest tools to share and celebrate.
Awesome. All right. And that was Dogan Nation, right?
Yes. Hashtag Dogan Nation.
All right. Woo. All right. Mandy, you are up. Are you ready?
No, she took mine. Okay.
Here's the thing. I'm going to probably share about the same stuff. So
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I certainly do feel like Twitter has kind of really given our campus a way to get inside each other's classrooms in addition to learning walks. We can do that, but I'm always like, I don't know what goes on in there. And, when I was in the classroom as a coach, I get to be in all the rooms. And so I try to do it when I'm in rooms as kind of just tweeting out things that we see. But as teachers are tweeting out things that happen in their classrooms, other teachers are getting to see those things too. And I think that builds not just your culture in your building, but then also it's a conversation starter. One thing we've started this year is the golden hashtag. I found a little hashtag with lights on it at Target. And so when I see teachers that are trying to actively use Twitter as a celebration tool, we hand it off, and then that teacher will find someone else to give it to. I think I read that in Lead Like a Pirate with Shelley Burgess and Beth Huff. But that's a fun way to celebrate.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I love that. I have a light up hashtag. I should start employing that.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to go along those same lines. I think social media is so powerful in getting that message out there in just a more comfortable format than email. When I first started in De Pere, that was a really big thing I pushed, was creating a Facebook page and a Twitter page and an Instagram page for our school and really getting that story out there. And it's really kind of spiraled from there. I think the high school, that got them on board to start, and their Twitter and Facebook, I don't know if they're using Facebook, but Twitter is definitely like very robust, and they're putting a ton of stuff out there. But I love being able to use those channels as an outlet. I see something in the classroom. For instance, I caught our principal working with a student on their math, and it was so cool to see that interaction because you don't often get to see the principal working with a student in that capacity. So I snapped the picture, asked permission from him first, and then I was able to post that. And It's just so cool to use that to celebrate the great things happening.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
All right. And that is the podcast. So Sandra, once again, I want to thank you for taking some time out of what sounds like an incredibly busy time for you. And we want to hear more about this. We probably want to have you back after the end of the year to kind of get the wrap up.
Yes.
Where can we find out more about the great things happening in Dogan?
Well, you can follow us at Dogan Elementary, or, using the hashtag Dogan Nation, or at Menxueiro. I know it's difficult, but, you can have reference on your podcast. But that's pretty much Dogan Nation. And what I discover is that our teachers use that as digital stickers for the students and for them. So that's a fun way to share our story. And remember that if you don't share your story, somebody else will. So I want to share mine, and it has to be positive.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And thank you, Mandy, for making that connection, because this was awesome. Sounds like you've gotten a lot of traction out of that TCCA conference that you went to.
Seriously. They just posted the date today for next year. I'm so excited.
I got to drive down or fly down or something down, because it sounds like an incredible place to be at. And maybe you out there listening will find your way to TCCA as well. We want to thank you for once again listening to the Stories in EDU podcast. We Hope that you've been inspired by this episode and by the previous ones, and that you keep on listening, because we're going to keep on sharing the great stories that all of our educators have. So thanks for listening. On behalf of Mandy and myself, we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to the Stories in EDU podcast. Please be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time, thanks again.